Morning, so welcome back again. So should be a new video. I might make actually an ending for yesterday. So we're in here. We're gonna get this ground up. We're gonna make a little filler piece for in here and fix that. I'm gonna cut away some of this other old seam where I jointed originally. And like I said in the end of the last video, I'll flip the camera around. Yeah, I think what had happened, and I've just had a bit of a look at the other side. This here is sucked in. This is actually sucked in quite flat. Whereas this is actually quite a bit more. It's a bit more. It sort of bulges out here. It doesn't sort of suck in flat so much. Where this sucks in very flat. If you look down there, it really pulls in. And I think that's what's happened when I run it through the English wheel a couple of times. To try and smooth out. And here where I'd welded, I think that's what happened. It sort of pulled in. And when I put it back on, after we screwed it all back on and put all the bolts back on and then welded it in, it had shifted in. And obviously when I went and put all this piece in, we pulled it all in to get it all to line up because we thought it fitted. Yeah, that's why we ended up, when I went to bolt that on, nothing lined up, and I was like, what the heck? But yeah, because we had flattened this out, and it must have sucked in and not realised it, yeah, that's what changed everything. So that's all right, we fixed it now, so I'm just going to make that little filler piece, and I'm going to come back in here and just cut this excess in there, so it's not 3 weld lines, so there's only going to be 2. I just have to wear a slightly wider strip in there. So we'll get that sorted very shortly. And then we'll jump to the other side. I was hoping to work most of the day today, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to because Mrs. wants to take, well, Mrs.'s boy, she's going to go get a tattoo and he's got no car and Mrs. will have to take him in there. So that's about 3 o'clock, so I'm going to work till about 1. I was hoping to come back down here after lunch and spend another 2 or 3 hours down here, but I probably could, but they'll have to leave about 2 o'clock, I guess, to go into town and get themselves sorted. So yeah, that means I can really only work to about 1 o'clock, which is a bit of a pain, but it is what it is. We're still getting progress done. I just wanted to spend an extra bit of time down here because, you know, sometimes you get messy, and I was just trying to catch myself up a little bit, a bit like we've been doing for the whole freaking thing. And just sometimes the days get messy, and you just don't get as much done, or you end up with distractions, or have to go do something else and come back, and yeah. So I'm just I feel like I'm trying to catch up a little bit to where I think I should be. So like I'm a bit further ahead. Obviously, just for the customer and to because I'm kind of paying myself just a wage each week. Like I'm not doing excessive amount of hours or anything like that, but it doesn't worry me if I have to do a few extra to try to get back to where I feel I should be, but not disadvantage myself either, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I just feel like I need to be a wee bit further forward. I was hoping to be well and truly into this today, you know, and then finishing it off, whereas we're still trying to get this finished. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt because we've still got to come along here and do a little bit of work on here. But I think I might try and see if I can just weld them up. Otherwise, we might just have to cut a couple of little slivers out of here, or maybe put a little strip in here. We'll have to have just a decent look, and it's fairly solid because it's been blasted inside and out, so can't be too bad. It's not as though it's hidden rust and you're trying to see what's on the other side if it's been blasted. So it's fairly solid. So I might even be able to just zap up those holes and grind it back. It's been a fairly good patch, and it's been done properly here. It's a shame they didn't do the rest of it very well, if you know what I mean. But by the time we clean all this up and give everything a bit of a skim and knock a few extra dents out and whatever, a wee bit of hammer and dolly, because we'll have to once we've ground all this back and cleaned it all up and flipped up the other way, we'll come along here and we'll hammer and dolly this a little bit. At some point, I will get a planishing hammer too, and I would like to get one that was able to be put on a stand, but then also taken off and used by hand at some point, or I'll make something or whatever. That's another one of the tools I want on my list. And probably the other thing, yeah, it's probably the main. Probably a planishing hammer would be really, really handy. It doesn't have to be a big one, but that would be really handy for doing metal work. Because you know, you can, as you know, you can come in there and work an area, and if it's pulled in a little bit, just easier to work, if you know what I mean. Then a hammer and dolly, faster. It's time is the big killer. But anyway, we'll get this cut out and we'll get this fixed. We'll throw it up my tripod and we'll get into it. Righty, so we've got all that welded in, all that roughly cleaned up. Yeah, we'll do some hammer and dolly work and everything around the back. Then we'll get it tipped up the other way and we'll make sure that's nice, and we'll see if we can get maybe a wee bit more off these welds, but it won't matter too much. I'd like to get them down a little bit better once we do a little bit of hammer dolly work around the back. We'll do a little bit of hammer and dolly work in here, and we'll try and get a little bit more off this weld. I'll just knock the worst of it off in the meantime. It's kind of awkward, it's in that sort of tight spot. You don't want to be grinding on here, and you don't want to be grinding this away around it. So the next piece I think we'll do is to get this buttoned up. I'll just put a bit of tape on here to get a pattern for that corner. So we'll pull that off, we'll lay it on a bit of crap there and see if we can get that piece out. I'm trying to save as much as that bigger piece for this section on the other side if I need to, because we're getting close to turning this around. I was hoping to get into this, but I think by the time I've got that made, get it welded up and cleaned up, we're probably not due to go home, but we'll be only just starting to pick this away, I think. By the time we get into that, we'll see. But yeah, so we'll make this, we'll get that buzzed on, welded up to this edge, join it back into where it's meant to be. I think this is where it goes across. You can sort of see the line from the original where the original was sitting. Even though it's been sandblasted, you can still sort of see it. I've probably got this a little bit high, so we may come along here and just nick a little bit off this edge with the grinder before we lay it on. I'll put a bit of tape down there and just take a little bit of this off. Won't matter too much, but because by the time you get the guard and everything on there, I probably won't worry about it, to be honest. By the time you got the fender bolted on there, you're never going to fucking see it anyway. And this here, just in here, is just a touch high. We might have to come along and just do a little bit of hammer work on here just to bring this down just a touch. It's got a little bit of clearance through here and a little bit of clearance through here, and it must be just a bit high, but we can hammer and dolly that again when we get it up the other way. So we'll get this peeled off, we'll get a patch made for there, weld that on. Should be a damn sight simpler than all the rest. All these holes here will fill when we got it up the other way, and we've got those other two little braces like that side sort of reshaped and back on, because that one, the back looked weird. I don't know, we'll have to have a decent look. That one there looks a bit weird too, I don't know. We'll have a decent look because we know that these have been, well, this one had definitely been patched before, would have been overlaid, and they'd taken some of this away, so I just wasn't sure whether it had been bent up and distorted. But yeah, we can soon weld it when it's up the other way. It's not a biggie, at least I can get in there and make sure it's pulled in tight and from the other side of it and whatever. We can put a couple of tick screws in from the back even, and buzz these in and then fill the holes up and whatever. We'll do that later. But everything else fits good, so we'll make this patch, get that in, and then we'll jump the other side once we get that roughly cleaned up. Righty, so we might have a quick wee clean up. We'll come back and obviously visit some of this later on when we get the body back up the other way and we can tart a few things up and whatever. So we might spin this round and have a look at the other side and have a quick clean up and quick sweep on the floor and whatever. And we'll put that fender away and we'll grab the other one out and throw it up there, obviously for testing. And yeah, we'll attack the other side and just see how far we get, I guess. But yeah, that's basically done. We might trim a little of that off later on. Obviously we've got to bore a hole through here to put the hinge pin in later on. But yeah, but we can do that from the inside, that's no problems. So yeah, I think we're pretty good. A little bit of hammer and dolly work in a few spots, and a smear of mud when we're ready, and should be pretty good. A little bit of hammer and dolly work, we might better knock the welds down a little bit further. You got to be careful that you don't grind the metal thin. It's very easy to do. We're lucky it's reasonably thick, but it's not. It's still not very thick. You know what I mean? And we'll have to give this here a bit of a knockdown at some point too when we got it back up the other way, or we can give it a hammer up or whatever and just get that to fit just a touch nicer. It's a little high, like I mentioned that earlier. But yeah, we're going to turn around and we'll have a quick clean up and quick sweep, and then we'll start picking the other side up and just see what we're going to attack there. Right, so let's have a wee look in here. I want that one up here. So this is junk through to about here. So that's garbage. This doesn't look too bad here. A little rot down in here. Patched there before. It's kind of weird. It's like got bits of old metal there. It's almost it's actually that's here. It's just been way wider. I've cut some of it off. It's like loose. Been out to here before. I've cut the ugly shit off. Yeah. That's quite a bit wider than that, but that's still not full width. It was originally in here an inch, at least an inch and a half. Because this hasn't been molested with the side. You know, well, I guess, you know what I mean? So it looks like the original steel was actually under here. Not that it matters, but. So what were we in there? Yeah, an inch and a quarter. It was in there originally. I think we'll try and work with what we've got. A lot of this doesn't look too bad. I might go come along here and just maybe add a little bit. I don't really want to start fucking around too much. We can just put some plug welds in here and burn it in maybe. We'll see. Might have to do something with it. But anyway, we'll cut this off. All this looks okay. Oh, I can see what's happening here. they put a piece in here. It's had this piece replaced, but they've never taken it right over, which is weird. But I'm going to have to, you can see where they patched it up to here. So this here is all, this probably here isn't too bad, but it's rotten down into here. So I think what we'll do, cut this off through here somewhere. And at least then we can grow that lip back out to where it needs to be. So we might have to have a look. That looks like it might have been welded in properly. A bit like this back edge. Or is it doubled in? I think it's okay. Worked. We'll find out when we get back into here. I think, so obviously this is going to come off. Then we'll, once we get this off, we'll assess what we're like in here. Doesn't look too bad. And I think we'll end up cutting this through here. And then maybe down into here. And possibly across here somewhere, or back up here somewhere, and build that into here. I don't know, something like that. And then we might add a bit more of an edge on here, as long as this has been repaired properly. It looks actually okay. So yeah, instead of replacing this section, it's rotted this piece off, and they've added to it at some point. It's almost like this here was done before the body filler and everything was all put in here, and some of the other funny patches. This was like done earlier in its life. Who knows, like maybe 50s or something like that, whereas this other stuff might have been bodged up sometime in the 60s or 70s when this family got it. I think we'll get this off, we'll nick this piece off. So I think this is okay. We might just, as much as I don't want to be welding all the way down here on this outer skin, we might just have to add a little bit of material down here, and we can plug weld that, remake this section, and come under here if we have to. I'm trying to avoid getting to the rivets. It actually looks quite solid. Might just have to nick a bit of this out somewhere. Even come up over here and avoid that one. Doesn't actually look that bad. So this actually did come through there like that. And this was, yeah, so I wouldn't have mattered what I did the other day. Put that piece of bucket metal on it. Probably didn't need to. I thought it was more further up, because this is up to here. Just draw a line on it because it's hard to see. It's through there somewhere. That line's meant to be. Right, let's cut some shit off, I guess. Right, let's stick a wire brush on a grinder and we'll quickly let this clean up and see what it's like before I bugger off for the day. Hopefully it's alright. I might have to cut more into here. I don't know. Definitely thin through here. We might be pulling some of this off. We might. Quickly cut this off. A little bit worried about what's going on behind here. It looks pushed off. Mightn't hurt as much as I didn't want to. Might have to. Oh well, that we'll deal with this Monday. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that we'll be doing a chunk of this anyway, and we may come further with this inside skin. It's pretty hammered in there. Probably not quite so bad up here. It's a little bit like it's pitted, but it's not that bad, but it's pretty heavy up in here. And there's still like bits of rust hanging off it, you know what I mean? I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up cutting this down a bit lower so I can get full access to this. So I might just knock that off now, or go. At least we can have a decent look at it all and decide what we're doing from there, I think. Yeah, right, so I think, you know, we're Monday's job now, but I think we're replacing a chunk of this. Like these here are attached to this. There is an inner skin where this hooks into, on the back of here. But these here are actually attached to this piece. So we'll just have to work out what we're going to cut off. Because it's not too bad up here. We might get away with just doing a sort of a section from here back, I guess. We'll see. We'll work out what we're going to do. Because it's obviously only really the two holes, but it's, as you can see, it's pretty hammered. It's pretty hammered when you get up close. It had a lot of shit behind. It wasn't bad through here. It's pretty solid. Even up into here is not too bad, but it's the worse the further you go back, the worse it gets. But you know, we've got the steel there to fix it, so we may as well make it better. Whether we cut all this off, but I'm just a little dubious. We'll have to brace it up a bit better if we do that. So that means basically we replace this whole side of the structure. Apart from this, you know, we did chop down into here a little bit. obviously into here, but we didn't plan on replacing this, but kind of what happens. That side was pretty solid on the inside. There was a little bit of pitting in there and a couple of spots, but it was bugger all. But this was the bad side, so it kind of, kind of understandable, I guess. But anyway, we'll see Monday, and we'll work out what we're doing from here. It's kind of, this is easier to fix because we're not worried about this. Like, we're going to have to remake this. We're not having to worry about too much here. We'll just clean all this shit off. We'll widen this back out a little bit just so it's better. When we make these strips, we might leave an extra long piece on here, maybe. We'll see. Or we'll just add in that piece in. Like, this will come right down to through here. We might make this in 2 sections. We'll see. See what's easier to do at the time. But yeah, it's amazing what you keep finding underneath, eh? But anyway, we're just about run out of Swiss cheese on this part of it. There's only a few little holes really in some funny places apart from this. But anyway, we'll catch you later on. Thanks for watching. Righty, I just painted some of that. It's a proper rust killer converter stuff on there, just because it was really heavy. If it was just a bit of light scabby rust and whatever, I think it would have come up a bit cleaner. So what I'll do once that sort of dries off a reasonable amount, I'll go back over with the wire brush and then that roll the Scotch Brite again, and then we will spray some of the zinc it weld through on there, which obviously helps neutralise rust as well. Just because it was heavy and really scabby shit, yeah, I'll just paint a bit of that crap on it, because it'll get into all the pores and bits and pieces, and by the time we go over it with a wire brush and then that again, it'll be fairly clean, and anything that's left should be fairly well neutralised by the rust converter, and then that zinc it weld through primer should in theory slow it down fairly well. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. Like, it's one of those things, it's gonna be a gain in the shed. It's not as though it's gonna be out working the first 20 years of its life really hard like it would have been when it was new, if you know what I mean. So that should kill the worst of anything that's in there. So yeah, we'll just let that cure off for a bit and dry and clean it off. Some of those products are really funny. This is one that you gotta clean off. This isn't one of the ones you can just paint on there and leave. It's not one of the ones that you would put on and then just leave it there. And it becomes like a primer. This is one you clean off, so we'll let it dry and then wheel it and whatever. I don't mind those other ones either, but it's not what I would use in this sort of situation. When it's had that heavy built up scabby rust, you're better off to hit it with something like that really gets into where it's fairly pitted still. As much as I would have liked to replace that whole piece, I don't know. I think it's just as easy, and it's not too bad. This is fairly good. It's a wee bit thin down here, but I think it's going to be a hell of an improvement. And by the time it's all back together with all the layers of skins back on it, it should be fine. It's one of those things. It's not going to be out there doing, 20,000 fucking miles a year and anything stupid. It might be lucky to do 20,000 miles in the next fucking 50. And by that stage it won't be my problem or probably the person's problem that's going to have it. It's going to be their sons or kids or whatever. It'll be their fucking problem by that stage. And I don't think they'll be too panicked about it, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll let that dry for a bit. I'm going to sit back and put my feet up for a minute, let that cure, and think about my next plan of attack, and we'll start making some patches shortly, and that'll give that a bit more time to cure off. Right, so that stuff's basically almost dry enough anyway. We'll throw a wire wheel back on here, hit it again, that'll hopefully maybe break any of the loose stuff off. Do that once more. Let's paint some shit once more. Might just do it once more. Get in a little bit deeper. It's not hard to go, but once more again with a wire brush in there. Just get in there a bit deeper. Towards the yarn deeper. Needs it. This piece. I'll let that do its thing again. Right, so we'll give this another clean up now. Run around this again. And then we might make this fit. Start welding it on. And then we can hammer the last little bit. We're pretty close. Once it's welded on along here, we can hammer that in. And I'll see if we trim it a little bit, but we'll clean this up one more time with the, so you might just hit it with the Scotch-Brite. Clean that crap off again, and then we'll weld that on, and then we can hit it with some weld through primer. At which point putting weld through primer on before we weld this on. Can probably blow a little in there, but it's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference just in there. I'm going to spray some shit in around there, will get in there anyway. On the other side, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll give this a good clean up, and we'll get this dialed in. Need a little bit of trimming and smoothing off here. Right, so now you can see that that piece there needs hammered in and then trimmed down. That's why I left it a bit long, so we'll do that. Back out a little bit. Another look at that. Tapped in. Wow. We're good to go there. Quickly check the time and we'll zzz that on. Oh, I thought I was filming the frickin' welding that on. What a bastard. Oh, I must have frickin' had it on the wrong settings. It must have been on picture and I must have pushed the button and then thought it was recording, but it wasn't. But anyway, it's welded on. I'm going to go have some lunch. We'll let it cool down and then we'll grind it off. Spray some weld through on there and be done with it. I actually basically went all the way around here till I got back to here, and then I started just keep going like that. Because it's quite thick, it's easy to weld and it's not really going to pull out of shape or anything silly, so I just basically just went around it. Might have to go back over the old spot. There was an old spot I wanted off the line a little bit and then come back on, but it's possibly the odd pinhole. But the reason I did it in one sort of, instead of jumping around so much, I just end up with a lot less frickin' pinholes when you don't jump around so much. There's probably the odd spot we've missed, but we'll sort that out after lunch. Righty, so I just got back from lunch. More gifts in the mailbox. Another one from Outlaw Garage. That's pretty awesome, thanks. These little squares and big squares and stuff are always come in handy, you know. Sometimes the big one's too big and sometimes the little one's too small, so it's good to have a variety of whatever. So it's awesome. Thank you very much for that. Again, it'll be coming very, very handy. We'll stick that in a drawer for when I need it next. So yeah, I've got that big one, wherever that is, which I bought myself there a while ago, but yeah, that little one's perfect. So anyway, we'll grind this off and clean that up, and then we'll blow some weld through primer on it and let that dry, and we'll start building the patch to go on here to attach to that. Actually, no, we might do this first while it's drying. Make a piece for the ear. Actually, we might try and flick some weld through on there as well. Which I might do that now. I'm grinding now. Let's do that. Righty, so I've taken a tape mould off here, or pattern, not mould, pattern, here, and I've laid it out on this bit of sheet metal, the bit of the 1mm. It's kind of how it fitted the best. So I whipped that out, cut that out. I was going to stay here and carry on and weld it on, but I've got some other shit I really need to do. I'd like to go try and pick that chassis up, and I've got to pick up a actually a little bike. Young fellow bought him a 110 motocross bike. So I got to go pick that up too, and I want to bring it back here. And at night I want to pull the bars and stuff off a little bit and give it a wee freshen up. It's 2016 Thumpster 110. It needs a little bit of work. The car was sitting around for a wee while with fuel in the carburetor too. Like it's actually my cousin, one of his young fellas had it, but he's now like 15 or something like that. So he hasn't ridden it for a couple of years. Like they had it going. They might have had it going like sort of 12 months ago or a bit more, but the carburetor's a bit gummed up. And they've had a bit of a go at cleaning it out, but it will idle, but it won't rev very well without choke on or anything like that. So, but apart from that, it's in pretty good order. It just needs a wee bit of a tart up. That's when I want to pull the bars and bits and pieces off it if I can. And if we have to, I'll order another carburetor for it. But yeah, if we can get it running, we will. But yeah, I just want to give that a wee tart up. I want to pick that up and then pick up the chassis as well. So I want to get that done so I can come down here and work on that little bike at night. I might do a couple of videos on it, just showing tarting it up, if you know what I mean. But yeah. So that's basically ready to cut out. But yeah, I'm sort of running out of day. I want to get that done before it's too much later, because it's the 12th. So like we're only really got 12 days, and if I have to order a carburetor, and it really needs a back tyre too, the back tyre on it's pretty buggered. So the front one's not too bad, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it really needs a back tyre, so I have to go order a tyre for that too. But I might go do those couple of messages and pick that bike up and then pick the frame up and try and drag it back here and throw up those sawhorses before I head home, hopefully. Otherwise I'll pick the frame up in the morning, but I want to get that bike here anyway. Poke over in the corner and work on it or whatever for a couple of days, and see if we can clean it up a little bit, just at night or something like that. Just all I want to do is repaint the handlebars, and anything else that's sort of black that's showing a bit of age that's easy enough to get off, if you know what I mean, just to freshen it up a little bit. Anyway, I'll catch you later on.